Well, happy hump day, everybody. What is happening, folks? So good to see everyone. Let me just hit that there, and we are good to go. The bus is ready to pull out of the depot. The weird thing is that, it's like that one of those virtual reality things. We're on the bus, but it ain't like no other bus drive. And the Beatles may have had a foresight of that, with the Magical Mystery Tour. So, and ours, well, we're just continuing the journey. So welcome, everybody. So good to see everyone. As I like to say, nothing missing and nothing broken. And as I go over here and I go, hey, what's happening on that other one? It's weird having this thing of spatial time, because the gods, that rule the technology sector, they've broken the construct of time itself. Really weird stuff, it's just everywhere. Here I am. So, excuse me. A little smoky outside. So what's up, everybody? Speaking favor to every one of us. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Yeah. Speak it. Make it your reality. So, hello, chat room. What's up? There's Nina. Nina has her show. I'm sure still. Boots on the ground. Robert is in the house. Goddess. Is that Abina? I like that. Who? It's Bernadette. Oh, love the name, darling. Far out. That's cool. Hey, Loretta, good to see you. Deborah, hello. I think I saw others in there in the chat room. Thank you. It's a privilege, and it's an honorable gift that you choose to spend time here. You could be a lot of other places. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. So yeah, honored. Thank you. And that's why I always invoke favor before we start upon us all, meaning you. Your energy is so vital. This group kicks ass in the old energy department. I got to tell you, hey, Mark, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Peter, hello. Robert V, what's up, brother? Cecilia, hello. Linda Espinoza, Brian, Lost in Space, what's up? So good to see you. Jules, hello. So what else? Miriam, hello. So the title today, if life is plan A, life, I mean, we're assuming someone is the architect. I don't know what, who. I mean, I couldn't have thought of a life like this. I'm in it, but no way I could have ever thought of a creation like this. So something did. And I ask myself many times in my journeys and in meditating, and you get to that place where it's cool. If plan A was the plan, and you designed this, you built it. I mean, surely you would understand, how it works, consequence, cause and effect. Got it. Then why would you ever have a plan B? The only reason why you would have a plan B, because somehow inherently you knew that plan A was going to fail. So if plan A is life, then was it already predetermined that plan B was going to have to be initiated? Because, that plan B thing is something we're all going to face. And the longer you spend time in this realm, that eventuality of that arrival date becomes ever closer. The human psyche is designed not to think about our mortality. It's an amazing thing. Is that consciousness? Is this that thing they call the soul or the spirit? Something's going on, because it's like we have this self-running program that says, yeah, it happens to everybody else, but it ain't going to happen to you. I'm like, sure, yeah. Now, I didn't lose anything. My sister yesterday, when looks like when I was doing the show, transitioned. She's not all the way on the other side yet. It's interesting. Holly was a beautiful, beautiful energy, suffered a lot. I mean, my life had its challenges, and Holly endured things that, but for women, is the greatest violation of your body. And when something like that happens, the scar, the wound, some say that when a woman is violated against her will, that it actually tears into the soul. Many never recover from that. My sister, I think, was that case. And we each have our life paths. And you see how each of us are unique within ourselves because of our life paths. And I had not expected this. I really hadn't. We weren't particularly close, and that's only because due to the circumstances in life of distance. I was her big brother. And it's interesting, that as she has now is in the process of transition. That's she didn't know that was the word. Thanks, Nina. It's a celebration. I had not expected this. I mean, I just simply was going to talk, and I told her that me, but including y'all, would send her a gift. And that gift is a favor, folks. Just surround her, she is there. And it's interesting. She said that I wrote these notes down as they were coming to me, and I'll just share them with y'all. And what I want us all to do is send it positively. I view it as I told her. I said, we're going to send you some energy. And Holly, that's one of the beauty parts of Holly was her innocence. And, and some of these things, particularly into the esoteric spiritual side, was not something that she pursued or was really exposed to. She had been on the channel here a couple years ago, and you may have seen her as Holly Dunn. And the thing about it is, the people that she had become integrated with, they were afraid of me. Yeah, they were really afraid of me. What the knowledge that's shared here, folks, listen, many of us may say, well, it's blasé. It's like, yeah, man, we're really into it. We can quote it, man, and it's cool. I mean, we have that gnosis as a part of us, but there's a lot of people on the outside, and they look into this type of topic matter and they go, wait a minute. And many of them, when you look at it with Lilith, they don't even know who the hell Lilith is. It's just funny if you look at the playlist. So anyway, so she didn't get an opportunity to be here, but she said that when I talked with her, she got to listen in. And I'm convinced as well is that those little intervals were enough to plant within her in this transition. And I was out there meditating this morning. I just was not thinking particularly of, her necessarily, but then I began to think about, what I knew of her life. And I just simply sent out and I said, sis, it's going to be okay. And the next thing I know, I could hear her thoughts. Her thoughts had the same inflection as her human voice had. So it was really interesting. So I'll just read you what I wrote down. I told her that she can go anywhere she wants. And this is what I heard in her voice. She says, I can go anywhere, but she says, I only know of a couple of the places and all of them are earthbound. I hadn't thought about that before. I mean, if Earth isn't and there's not this light, she says she hasn't seen a light. She is with her mom. Now, her mom and my mom were not the same. But she says her mom comes and goes. She said she found me because of my thoughts. She said they were like, well, she it was just a pool. She told me, she said that over there, and she's not all the way across. She still hears. There's kind of this in between point. But she said, you can tell those. She said that are been from Earth, or what she calls this. But she said we have a color around us, and I told her, I said, sis, it's called your aura. And she said, well, she said everyone has these colors. She said they're not all the same. She said with me, she said that she sees this blue-green. She has a color that I've never seen anything. She says close I can get to her. And then she said there are these swirls of orange. She said others have told her that are around her, said that she says, me, speaking of me, she says, you're recognized as a teacher. She said she can hear what others over there say. And it's somewhat confusing because she said, you seem to hear me, but her family don't. And I explained to him, and I told her, I said, sis, I said, I'm shocked myself. But I said, it's like tuning in a radio. It's dial at 610, point whatever. I asked her specifically, I said, so, because she was Christian in her beliefs, I said, did anyone meet you? And in the moment you left the corporeal form, and she said there was, she said what she sees is angels, but she said that they haven't spoken to her yet. They just stand there. So anyway, like I said, it's weird. I mean, so I told her, I said, we're going to send you this energy. And I said, just absorb it. It'll help guide you. I said, there's wisdom in this energy. And I said, you're over there. I'm not. But I said, the veil can be crossed. It's consciousness, it's thought. And some would say, well, I don't believe that. That's cool. Quite frankly, I didn't believe it myself. And it's weird, but it became conversational. It was, like I said, very distinctly Holly. Yeah. So, what's up? Which brings this thing to thought. Is thought the consciousness value of how we communicate? I was reading a paper on consciousness. I want to kind of share this with all of you because this is really interesting. I went, So this is a paper from academia, and this is under their letter section. And it said, Sauron and the Plague of Consciousness, Connor Leake. Listen to this. So it said, below is an adapted snippet from a larger piece of writing. Is the less we know, the better. Robert Nozick, 1974. Experienced machine thought experiment presents the option of the world as it is versus a simulated world design to adhere to your desired pleasures. And I thought about that and I went, that's interesting. Because each and every one of us have, in our own way, desires and pleasures. I like chocolate. To me, I mean, at the beach, if y'all cross over, and I told Holly about the beach, chocolate is going to be, like I said, it's the top of the thing. The thought experiment was initially designed to refute the well-being theory of hedonism, but it also hits on another pertinence. What is the value of consciousness? What is the value of consciousness? Is it vital that we know the quote unquote truth, no matter how harsh it may be? It says, for Koran, consciousness isn't all that. For consciousness leads to the desire to know. But many things, simply put, cannot be known. Well, there's the paradox, I guess. Then is that the Uberus? Is it the snake consuming the tail? Is it we really stuck in this causality loop? Is that what, in fact, infinity is nothing more than a causality loop? Because it implies several things. I mean, I had this conversation with my sister. I mean, it was a conversation that was, again, quite startling. Be as it may be, forever what you perceive doesn't matter. It's what I saw it as. But here's the thing. It was very obvious that there is a conscious value to, she said she can't describe herself. She said every time she thinks of herself, it changes. And I said, well, I hadn't thought about that before, but if you've been on the planet for, say, in my case, 24,900, and I think it's 32, something like that. So that means that there was technically 24,900 and different versions of myself. Because we're never the same day in and day out. It may appear like that, your circumstances, your world, your reality, your ritual, but the reality is that you are not the same of what you were yesterday, and you're not going to be what you are going to be yet tomorrow. So That gets interesting. When I could see that. If you're an uninitiated spirit being who is in the midst of this transition, and it's confusing for her. I asked her, I said, I don't want you to be afraid. And I heard her distinctly say, she says, I'm not afraid of where I'm at. She said, but I'm afraid of all the others around. I got them in my notes, so I don't know what that, but it appears to be this evidence of consciousness experiencing the same emotional stimuli that we experienced here. I mean, fear, love. I had to talk to her and explain to her that, the only one that judges her, I said, Holly, is you. And I said, you are a beautiful spirit being. I had to tell her because it began to change the distortion that she was seeing herself into. I know it seems complicated, but yet it makes really a lot of sense. So this thing of consciousness, this thing that if we're transitioning into a different stage of mortality, because one of the questions I ask myself in my meditation is that if I'm immortal, do I transcend back into an immortal, or am I forever going to be, even in the ethereal realm, a mortal? Can I experience a second death? Is death a repeated aspect of the mortality of my immortality? Just asking for a friend. And so I happen to think that the writer here has a good question. For consciousness leads to desire to know. But it's a fact that, hey, listen, I don't know, you're on all your different paths. But for myself, I have to conclude there's just some things I don't know. I don't understand. If the legend and myth of Solomon is true, then it implies that a mortal can, in fact, master and manipulate the essence of what we would call mortality, consciousness. Every spirit being, whether it be a jinn, an angel, a demon, a Jesus, a God, a Muhammad, whatever, all of them are associated with a consciousness. Apparently, a spirit does not have the ability to express itself unless it does have consciousness. Maybe a spirit can, I don't know. We'll all find out, right? But yeah, I guess there is some things that we'll just never understand. I mean, if Solomon had that power, and many of us have, I don't know if we do, we play this game with ourselves coming in, because I look at my life now. I live in the whole Jesus, Christian, God and country realm, and I may have conservative thoughts and ideals, but no Christian. Don't buy into that. And so you can really feel like a stranger in a strange land very quickly. It gives you sometimes the uncomfortable feeling that you're living in a distinct, altered perception of reality. Really? It says, so anyway, I want to go on with this because this is interesting, because it's relevant to me. Because here's some of the questions I ask myself. my sis apparently answered one that I hadn't even realized I'd written down. And one of the questions I had asked last week was, can we move freely, travel, you know, or is it just earthbound? I mean, if we're humans, then it means that we're humans over there on the other side. Now, some would argue, no, you can't be human on the other side. I would counter in the debate to say, well, then what are you, a dog on the other side? I mean, you're part of the animal kingdom here. So if you're not human on the other side, then what was your purpose for being here? I mean, if incarnation is in fact reality, well, then it would seem like us mortals carry this mortal aspect of us, this humanist aspect of us, to the other side. If you were an asshole here, you'd probably be an asshole over there. Huh? And so the thought occurred to me, I can travel in my mind. I do that. All of us when we dream. And for me, within my imagination that's been well developed and refined, thought would carry my essence. I could travel anywhere. I could travel to the Andromeda galaxy. Love to explore, these stellar nurseries. And this is what I think. I mean, and unless all of this is just merely onto this side, and over there it's just all blackness. And then my sister laid it out. She said she wasn't restrained, but she just said she didn't know where to go. That's when I knew it was my sis. I mean, that is so simple, but it is so matter of fact. I've never read that before. In all the books, and I mean, I got a crap load of them. I never read that a human spirit, soul, however you want to do it in transitioning, then unless you've really thought about this, where would you go? Did I just see a shadow behind? There should be, yeah, that's weird. Then I said, well, all right, do humans rule in the afterlife? And then this is where the title came from. So who created the afterlife? I mean, is the same Joker that created this realm the same Joker that created the next realm? And I don't know about you, but call me a simple, common, naked philosopher here. But my common sense goes, do I really want to trust myself to this next realm if it's the same a-hole that created this realm? Because if this a-hole created this next realm, what a freaking zoo that's going to be. But Occam's says we have to consider all possibilities. And after we have eliminated all possibilities, then we're left with our answer. So what if it's not the same? But then you have to ask yourself, then why would there need to be a plan B? Because plan B is death. There ain't no getting away from it. Which tells me that plan A failed before it was even launched. I mean, seriously? And the modern theology today of the culture that we live in, that blame is put on us. But I could never quite figure out that if that thing was smarter than us, then it's a rather chicken shit way of going about averting your responsibility, dude. Don't blame it on us. I mean, hey, we're just the monkeys in the exhibit. I don't know. Questions. So consciousness is something that we all have. It's how we talk. It's how we communicate. And apparently we can communicate. There's a lot of us in this group here that was the first, and I'm just talking, but that was a very surreal experience. It truly was. It was very surreal. And I have a lot of joy in the aspect now of knowing that this energy, this reciprocity that we can come together is remarkable. And it's tangible. That's the interesting thing. I often think into the non-corporeal realm of existence. So the physical laws would not necessarily apply. I mean, I'll have to, next time I talk, I have to ask, does gravity exist in the afterlife? I mean, in the ethereal realm, does electromagnetism exist over there? I mean, what's the source of energy? We all go and just use, well, I got the divine spark here for my card. Thank you very much. And, that's very convenient because, it's like, well, we don't have to really get into where did the spark come from to begin with. Give me 1 second, folks. I want to do something here. There we go. I had this irritating hum in my microphone, which was going to my headphones. It's like, okay. But getting back to the conversation. So is this a feeding realm? Is Earth in this, and I'm assuming other planets, maybe like Earth, I don't know. I mean, are they like the feeding spots? Is this where we get our energy from? Do we need energy? I mean, why would we consume? Apparently can a spirit eat? Actually, I have an answer for that one. It's pretty interesting. So, in Bible school, as they taught us, and this again was a little bit more on the existential side, but the question was answered is yes, they can. Particularly those they have the ability to take on human form. They can in fact eat. And we have, of course, the biggest mystical book of all time in sales, so they tell us, the Bible, that in fact I believe it's in the Gospel of John, the God spell, because that's what gospel means. Gospel, when they had been out fishing all night. Now, I still don't understand how a fisherman would be taught the lost language of Greek. But anyway, I digress. I mean, we're going to stick with the story. So they're out fishing, and they see this dude out here waving on the shore, saying, "Hey, dudes," and so they coming in, and apparently they're hadn't caught anything. And so the dude made the fire, apparently was cooking fish. Now, in my thinking now, I'm thinking, now, wait a minute. So did the fish walk up to this Jesus dude and say, hey, man, I'm going to sacrifice myself for you here. Go ahead and slit my throat. Let me go ahead and go, because I ain't got no soul or anything. Go ahead and eat me. Back in the 70s, we used to say this. If you wanted to flip someone off, say, eat me, But I digress. So to get to the point, so they come ashore, and it's Jesus. He's risen from the dead, and he sits down and eat. Now he said, you are flesh and blood. He said, I am flesh and bone. Now we all know, as maybe if your mind is going where mine is. So in essence, what he's really saying is that he's a golem. That's what a golem does. It's not flesh and blood, it's flesh and bone. But anyway, and so, yeah, he ate. So anyway, so let's continue on this. I love this conversation. I mean, all our far out group, I mean, you have to be of a certain free thinking mind to engage in this type of mind coitus, because many people would go, what? Y'all just plain weird, man. Yeah, we are. All right. So Goran said, when he describes consciousness as an open wound in the heart, and how he would prefer to live without it. Now, of course, I'm sitting here going, okay, dude, I can fall with this, but in my mind's going, okay, so what then is the heart? The essence, if it cannot express itself? Does expression need consciousness in order to express itself? So the paper goes on to say, and it's a short paper here if you want it, says, let us start at the beginning with the original organic man who existed before the breach of consciousness. Now, I don't know how that goes with your theology, ideology, or, your eschatology, but it's interesting because in the Bronze Book, the Koran Bible, there is one of the stories of organic man, the original man, and the essence of that, the fact that it did not have consciousness. I don't know how you live without consciousness. It says, life was not so bad for the original organic man, our most authentic self, synonymous with the primitive animal. Thus, the original organic man was not equipped with the consciousness that we now possess. Now, that's got all sorts of serious, man, let me smoke a joint on this one, and let's talk about this. By the way, did y'all see Tucker Carlson's take on cannabis? Classic. By the way, it's in the Bible. Yeah, apparently the God of the Bible loves the smell of cannabis. But when the translators were translated, they said, no. We can't let none of this shaman crap get into this thing here. But they borrowed from every other pagan belief and practice. But so we can't have them smoking joints. We can't have God sitting up there that first he smells the cannabis, then he wants to smell the burnt flesh. Now it makes sense to me. I'm just saying, okay, I love it. I love it. But then, so this consciousness thing. So was it a gift? Was it the forbidden fruit? What's the metaphor, the allegory that they're trying to draw us into this thing? Was that really the essence of the fall? Was that it wasn't a fall from divinity? It wasn't fall from grace. It was the fact that we fell from a state where we had no consciousness. Please leave a comment below. I'd love to see your take on that. An existence in a realm where consciousness neither presents itself nor exists. Okay. As we continue. But along the evolutionary path, we experienced a fall into time, essentially producing higher reasoning capabilities and an advanced consciousness. Dinstag, in his paper of 2006, page 122, a fall into time, a consciousness capable of conceptualizing time and eventually everything that exists within it, such as values, progress, and historical narratives. How many of you saw the movie with the drill instructor with Matthew Modine? What was that? Oh, Full Metal Jacket. So the drill sergeant, who he was a gunny. And just reading that, this would be my impression of gunny. What the hell are you trying to tell me, Private? Are you trying to tell me you don't believe in God and the Holy Virgin Mother? What kind of crap are you trying to throw down my throat? What do you mean, no consciousness? That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you've never seen the movie, then you probably don't get it. But many of you have. You'll immediately say, yeah. So let's get back into this thing. So along the evolutionary path, we experienced a fall into time, essentially producing higher reasoning capabilities. It sounds like this is a bad thing. And I mean, everything I see in the metaphysical community and the religious belief is that you're supposed to get advanced in your consciousness. The woke, the awake, whatever you want to be. Wow. So a fall into time, a consciousness capable of conceptualizing time and eventually everything that exists within. Values, progress, and historical narratives. I don't know about y'all, but that just freaking blows my mind. A fall into time. So what was it? Were we just all of us kind of hanging out, man, and not really thinking because, we ain't got consciousness. And so what did we do? Slip? And all of a sudden you're in the back rooms? That whole thing, liminal spaces. I mean, is this what we are? Are we experiencing a whacked out version of the back rooms? I don't know. In essence, the fall into time produced the abstract man, who is responsible for the aforementioned higher reasoning. But what is important at this juncture is that we did not entirely surrender the original organic man, for we still retain some primitiveness. Okay. I mean, I ain't got no problem with that. I can certainly chew on that. Just make sure it's got good garlic and salt and pepper, a little cayenne pepper. You're just fine. Thus, alongside the abstract man, we have the organic man. Now, I don't know. I'm just a simple, naked philosopher here, just thinking, okay, now wait a minute. That sounds an awful lot like dualism here. I mean, are we truly schizophrenic? It's like when you have a hostage situation and the guy's a schizophrenic and he's wanting to commit suicide. No, someone's taking someone hostage. Anyway, says the The organic man possesses the greater focus on the self with, for example, a will to pursue innate desires. At its most elementary, the organic man may deny reasoned conclusions or what is deemed rational if these conclusions conflict with their subjective desires. But most of the time, our abstract counterpart will step in and state that such acts violate the constructed norm. We can also describe the organic man as responsible for emotions and feelings, or how we might experience an irrational fear. For example, we might conjure up thoughts of a ghost story at night. Through the abstract man, we know that such thoughts to be nothing more than a myth, yet we stubbornly retain an irrational fear due to our organic nature. Wow. We can thus already see a contradiction, a conflict between organic and the abstract. That's dualism. That's sin. It's what's predicated on the laws, the whole thing. Weird realm. And again, I ask the question freely here. Y'all are philosophers. We'll be having those who are going to be ordering the t-shirt soon. I'll have a beta model to show everyone next week. So, but anyway, so this consciousness thing, this non-consciousness thing. So does it only appear into what we would call the temporal realm, where our corporeal forms are just that, corporeal. Consolidation of matter, the collections of molecules and atoms. If that's truly what it is, then Morpheus was right. When he asked Neo, he said, so what is consciousness? What is reality? It's a 5, a big O5. A 3 and a 2. 3 parts chemical, 2 parts electrical. Everything from there is what we, as conscious beings, perceive to be reality. So is death any more different? My sis said it was, though she died of cardiac arrest, that she never felt it. Kind of goes to a lot what I have studied, and that death is really more orgasmic than it is anything else. It's a release. But then you get in this thing where we're seeing a transition of consciousness. So now I'm asking myself, well, we have 2 sets of realms here, reality, dimensions. And how can the law of one dimension supersede or write the laws of the next dimension? And isn't that maybe what the challenge is here as philosophers, as experiencers of life? We're here to assimilate the knowledge and the experience to prepare ourselves for the aspect that there is, in most likelihood, a different set of laws that are different than these laws. And there seems to be this in-between zone. And so as you think of my sister, just surround her with love. If you want to send her some energy that helps, with the guide or whatever, but just surround her with that. And I know that she's receiving it. I have a sense that she'll be attracting others. Just maybe the process is exactly what the ancient said. It's really is a 3-day process. It's not this sudden thing. The light concept is really a modern day belief system. The ancient Hebrews, their belief is that you go down to Shiloh, the place of the dead, Ghostland. And as I have heard, set in different sermons, symposiums, etc., that this realm is, and this is really weird because this is where you get into these religious ideologies that, the Old Testament saints are in this realm that in a lot of ways mirrors this realm, because their promise is that they will inherit the earth, where the New Testament saints have been promised to inherit the air, the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, now you go, well, okay, so if I am a writer and I'm taking from pagan beliefs, because, you still can't answer how, as I asked this preacher one time, I said, so you talk about the Lord in the Old Testament. Who's this Lord in the Old Testament? He says, well, it's Jesus Christ. And I said, well, that's a goddamn lie. I said, it can't be. I said, because then what you're doing is that you're taking a big old dump on a culture and religion and saying that their beliefs had absolutely of no impact, although it was their beliefs, but yours supersedes that. And then it gets right back into the same equation. So it seems like we're trying to alter this realm in order to prepare for the next realm, a new set of conditioning, a new set of expectations. I don't know. Well, this has been fun. So if you want this, again, this is really critical thinking, isn't it? I love this aspect of this higher reasoning. So he says, thus we can already see a contradiction, a conflict between the organic and the abstract, but it is nothing serious. I'll have likely forgotten about the ghost story by tomorrow, and I'll thus sleep like a log. But there is something much more sinister in the conflict, for Quran recognizes man's condition is an irreversible tragedy due to the fall into time and the abstract man. Let's see why. First, with higher reasoning and critical thinking capabilities, we asked questions about the world around us, which led us to questioning the meaning of life. This generated the conclusion for some that the world is infinite, eternal, and meaningless. As Quran wrote and states, a world has no meaning, irrational at the core. Meaning is conceivably only in an infinite world where one can reach something. Infinity renders impossible any solution to the problem of the meaning or the emphasis and original of life. I mean, if infinity is true, then, why are we down into, the macro here? As a result, in the response to the void of meaning, we conceptualized and constructed moral values, culture, and societal norms. For example, we sought to develop values and norms as grounding for meaning through higher consciousness and languages, components of the abstract man. But according to Quran, this activity is ultimately futile, for it presupposes that there is an endpoint or an answer of some kind. As Corin pointed out, states above, meaning is conceivable only in an infinite world. And so, in essence, we construct abstract responses in an attempt to provide an answer or solution to an unsolvable or unanswerable element of life. Any answer or solution is ultimately a subjective interpretation because we cannot understand an infinite world. I'll break it off there. Was that some good mind coitus? Wow. Wow. gonna have a drink or the next one. uh well, thank you, Robert. uh hey, we that's what we do here. Our channel doesn't really grow that much. I mean, it's just the way it is. But hey, listen, it's the type of things most people don't want to get. I mean, they just don't want to get bogged down into it. One person wrote and said, man, after listening to you for an hour, they said, my brain hurts. I'm drained. I'm tired. I don't want to think about anything else. And I said, okay. Then we did it. So, all right, folks. Again, thank you for sending your beautiful energy to my sister, Holly Mae. And, when you get to the other side, and she'll probably be there to thank you, but maybe she might even be a guide for you. Who knows? I was freaked out when she said that others told her that I'm a teacher. And I kind of laughed when I heard that. And I said, well, yeah, I think that's kind of true, So, what can you say? And I got a sense that just me, maybe, that there's a lot of teachers in here, because we certainly seem to learn a lot from each other. That's all I got to say. Yeah. So anyway, I'll most likely will see y'all tomorrow. So much to talk about. Hey, Mary Wins, how you doing? Nina, make sure everyone's tuned into her show later on. Tori, thank you. Good to see you. Yeah, there's plenty. This whole thought about, it parallels so many of other thoughts that we have broached here as we continue this journey, that, falling into time. For some reason, I'm hearing war, slipping into darkness. Mary Wynn's right back at you, darling. I mean, Miriam, thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun show. You would think this, but I refuse to fall into that trap of mourning. I mean, no. Listen, the absence is the absence, but I choose to celebrate and to put the emphasis on, let's not shed a tear in sadness, but if you're going to shed a tear, do it in joy of gladness. Yeah. It's like another one crossed over. Robert V, right back at you, brother. Lilith, thank you, dear. Gilbert, much love to you, brother, as well. Shirley, thank you as well. So, hey, folks, have yourself a fabulous day as we make the quest into the unknown. We shall go. Yeah, there's other things, and we'll talk about maybe more of this. So the famous thing, the intro for Star Trek, boldly go where no man has ever gone before. So are there places that a spirit being, I don't know, apparently we carry this certain essence of humanness onto the other side. I mean, do they restrict us? What do you do with a group like us then say, I ain't falling for that stuff, man? And, they prayed it out before you and see where you were wrong. You go, You see, and this is where I come back. I'm not moved by what I see. I'm not moved by what I feel. I'm only moved by, and that's actually a scripture out of the New Testament. The point is, it's a faith exercise. I don't care what you show me. I don't care what it says. I have my faith, and it's only my faith and my faith alone. I'm only moved by what I know. I mean, some of this stuff you go, holy crap, did I just cast a spell on myself, or what did I just do there? Emperor said, Rex says, my friend passed this Monday. Yeah. Heart attack. Yeah, that's what my sister passed from. Tears for Ascension. Yeah. Yeah. True. That's it. Paul Joe, well, thank you. Jeanette, how are you? All right. So, Michael, right. Thank you, sir. All right, folks. We'll meet each other again on Thursday. How's that? Most interesting movie. Imagine Thor coming back in the modern day. Wonder how long it would take him before he got really pissed off.